Hi everyone, my name is Joycelyn Alamensa and I'm a third year doctoral student at University of Nottingham. I'm grateful for the opportunity to say something really short about this excellent book by Dr. Leslie Powell and Professor Simon McGrath on skills for human development. So I first came across Leslie's work on vocational education and training and the capability approach in 2016 when I was working on my PhD proposal. And even though I knew about the human capability approach, I hadn't seen anyone apply it to research in vocational education and training. So it was inspiring to see the work that Leslie was doing in this field, and this really shaped my ideas. And I draw a lot on Leslie's work in my current thesis. This book makes an excellent contribution to the field, both theoretically and empirically. Theoretically, it is the first to apply the realist model to vocational education and training using the capability approach. And empirically, I like the fact that she focuses on students and what it is that they value from education and training. So it's not about the economy, it's not about productivity, economic growth, and all of those things that one would look at if working with the human capital theory. So by using the human capability approach, she's able to project the voices of vocational education and training students, and this is very important, especially as I see this to be missing in many studies on vocational education and training. What I'm about to say next is not a critique or a limitation of the work per se, but I see it to be a limitation of working with theory. And in this book, Leslie uses Archer's analytic dualism to examine the interplay between structure and agency, and by doing this she's able to see both structure and agency as distinct whilst theorizing their relationship. She's able to look at focus on individuals, at the same time the role of college in advancing the freedoms of individuals. And one of the limits to analytic dualism is the fact that it does not help to explain structures that are internal to individuals, and how and to help in understanding how individuals draw on these structures in their actions and in the ways in which these can be constraining or enabling. And I believe one way in which Leslie's work could be taken forward is by using other theoretical lenses to understand the role of structure and agency in vocational education and training. And this is an area in which I am currently working using strong structuration theory. Secondly, this book enhances our understanding of the capabilities of VET students in formal vocational education and training institutions. And I think that it is going to be really interesting for us to know more about the capabilities of students in other training context, especially in the informal sector, because this will help us to look holistically at the role that VET plays, regardless of where it takes place, whether in the formal or in the informal sector. And again, this is the focus of my study on informal apprenticeship, that's VET in the informal sector in Ghana. Lastly, I'd like to say that there is a limit to what any single study would be able to achieve, and Leslie has done excellently by looking at VET capabilities and the role of college. But I think it will be interesting to look at how other social structures in society, whether the labor market, whether the family, whether gender structures, whether regulatory frameworks and institutions, and how these enable or constrain dimensions of capability. And this is one way in which we could move this field forward. Lastly, I would like to thank Leslie for her for this work and for her insights, which has been useful in my doctoral journey. And it has really been helpful to stand on her shoulders to be able to look at what VET is doing in other contexts using the capability approach. And so I'd say that if you want to know more about skills development and of vocational education and training and human development, grab a copy of this wonderful book. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the program.